one more simple tool we can use with text, common in many, many programs, spell check. So let's go into our document, and we're going to go to text, check spelling, or Shift F7 we could use too. Alright. It's very basic. You can ignore the instance of it, change it, ignore all instances of that particular word. Like, let's hit ignore, see what happens. You see what happened here? This alerts us to something. Remember how we replaced all the ifs with maybe? Well, that's because we didn't limit it to whole words, and it was looking for if even in the middle of a word. So my tears are like the quiet. So let's take maybe out, and what would happen if we had if? That word was drift. So there you learned something. In this case, I'm going to ignore it. And there's another word that had if in it from the rift, it looks like it was. But something useful is if there is a word that's legitimate in your mind that it finds, you can add it to your personal list, and then when you check the spelling again, it won't catch it. So that's pretty useful. All right, in this case, I'm going to close out of the spell checker, and I'm going to change these two words it found. R-I-F-T, whoops, and then drift and rift. All right, so that's what that was. All right, and just before I close out of this, I am going to save very quickly, and then I'm going to bring I'm going to minimize our search results. Remember all the maybes it found before. And hit F4. Now this section over here, that selected the whole thing. The sidebar. Alright, let's say I want this sidebar to have a different background color. Remember before I mentioned that gray was not what I wanted? Alright, so I'm going to change that gray to a nice black. Ooh, yeah, that looks good. I like that. And up here in the header section, I'm not going to select just the words, but that whole section, I'm going to go, remember how we chose no repeat? Well, I guess that slice up there was not wide enough on the initial document, so I am going to have to do repeat and see if that fixes it. Hit OK. I'm going to scroll over, and aha, it did repeat. Put this little section over here. So the initial JPEG was not wide enough to cover that whole sliver up top, so now I've repeated. So now if I save this and preview in a web browser, I know I should have just hit F12, it was easier. Ah, look at that. It's looking pretty good. I like it. Alright. So there's another quick lesson with the spell check and a couple fixes we just did on the document. So go ahead and experiment. And remember to save.